This is July 2020, and it seems to be about 6 years since I made a video explaining how to find information about the side effects of medicines. April Charity, which I founded, actually deals with psychiatric side effects of everyday medicines, but this is to tell you generally how you find them. How you find the best information. Now, the best information being the information from the manufacturer, which may not always include side effects that have been discovered after the drug has been licensed. But up until the time it's licensed, they have to record, or should record, all the side effects that occur during the clinical trials. So you go to a website for England anyway, and a lot of these drugs, of course, are the same all over the world, although they may have different names. So medicines.org.uk, which is medicines.org.uk, is the website. The stroke EMC can be put in. It stands for Electronic Medicines Compendium. So if we look up a drug, say you want to find out about an antidepressant called Prozac, you'd have to use the official name for it, which is fluoxetine. If you're not sure of the name of the drug and only know the trade name, then look up on Google to see what the proper name is for it. So if we put in here fluoxetine, F-L-U-O-X, by that time it comes up in the list. Click on it, click go, and you come to a website with several different manufacturers. But the main thing is to find a drug. Most of the data will be the same, but there are two opportunities here. You've got the patient leaflet and you've got the SMPC, the Summary of Product Characteristics, which gives you more information than the patient leaflet. So here you come to the page, which is long, and it's a lot to read. A doctor said to me, oh, it's a lot to read. Yes, well, everybody who prescribes these drugs should read this. Anyone who takes the drug should read it before they take the drug, because very often there are interactions which a doctor has forgotten about or didn't get taught, and he hasn't had time to find out. So it tells you what it's prescribed for and what the recommended dose is, like 20 milligrams a day is plenty for adults, although older people particularly. But I was told by Charles Medower, who did a lot of research into this, that 5 milligrams works for most people, but they licensed it at a higher dose because obviously it's more profitable. So it tells you about caution for the elderly, but we all know about caution for elderly people because their liver and kidneys don't work as well, and they should have tests to make sure they're functioning. So you've got special warnings and precautions, and if it's a drug you need because you've got an illness and this is important for you to take it, I'm not calling depression an illness that it's important to take a drug for, because that's a whole other story. But if you are having to take a drug, as long as you've read the data, you can be warned that if you suddenly get pains in your legs and you're taking, say, a statin to reduce your cholesterol, you'll know those pains in your legs could lead to kidney failure. So at least you'll go back to your doctor and say, actually, doctor, I think I ought to have a particular test to see if my muscles are getting breaking up due to this drug, because you'll have more information. You see, unfortunately, the doctors don't always have this information. They don't have to study how drugs work before they qualify, except in certain universities where this might be mandatory, but in many, a young medical student doesn't have to take an exam. It's not mandatory on knowing side effects. So you see, you've got mania, you've got hemorrhage, you've got seizures, lots of different side effects that you should know about. Akathisia, psychomotor restlessness. This is something that's not being talked about very much by the doctors, but the patients are certainly talking about it. A very nasty, distressing restlessness that leads to people sometimes self-harming or even, sadly, taking their own life. So akathisia is something we should all know about. As we go further down, there will be a box which will have very common, uncommon and rare. Well, this is only during a clinical trial where they may perhaps test it on a few thousand people. By the time the drug is licensed, it will go to millions of people. So 1 in 1,000, if you've tested on 3,000, is only 3 people. 1 in 1,000, if it's 50 million people, well, I'm not good at maths, but you can work it out. So a lot of these side effects, they say are rare, can actually happen to you. Agitation, hallucinations, mania, panic attacks, confusion, aggression. Some people have killed people and said it was due to the feelings they had when they had the drug and they didn't know what was happening. Akathisia, serotonin syndrome, very important to know about serotonin syndrome. A lot of doctors overlook this, and people who've been on antidepressants for years may get this problem. So that's one way of finding out about a drug. I mean, you can look up aspirin or any particular drug. If we go back to the page where we filled in the little box, they also put latest medicine updates here. So it's quite useful. Drug safety update, which is useful to know about. You can sign up for those. If you want to know how many people have actually reported side effects, in England we have a yellow card system. Patients can report directly online. If you find that difficult, you can phone them. I won't go into it, but if you go into side effects of medicines, there will be a phone number, which I think is only operative between about 11 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's limited time, but if you ring the number, they will tell you. And why I've brought you here is, do report any serious side effect that stops you working, or a serious illness that occurs due to a medicine. If you want to find about people's reports, and don't forget, less than 10% of people or doctors ever report serious side effects, less than 10%. You go to drug analysis profiles. Here, you see, you click on this, interactive drug analysis profiles. So you go down here and you can find your drug. So we were looking at fluoxetine. So we'll go to F for fluoxetine. By the way, this website is yellowcard.mhra.gov.uk. And then you find the IDAPS, the interactive drug analysis profiles, they call them, yeah. And yellow card is the thing to remember. MHRA stands for Medicines Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. They're the organisation that license the drugs and also have to promote the industry. So we won't discuss about conflict of interest. That's not what we're here for today. It's to help you find the information. So we've gone to F, and then here underneath it's FI to FL. So we'll click on that, and then we should find fluoxetine. Yes, here it is. So the way they set this out is quite interesting. You can find side effects by female or more females report, which we know happens because women have different hormones and the blood, the skin type, everything. It all affects them. The lady anaesthetist who spoke at our conference said it's well known that women get more side effects. Also, the drugs very likely may not have been tested on women. They're very often tested on men of a certain type, so it doesn't include all ethnic groups. For example, Asian people have to take lower doses of statins. There's many things affecting how a drug behaves in your body: ethnicity, your genetics, whether you lack certain enzymes, but that's a whole other story. So here we are. We can see here that the age group 30 to 39 reports most side effects. Fatal side effects are dark green, serious are light green, non-serious yellow. So here we've got quite a lot of that age group, 30 to 39 and 40 to 49, so the older people, but also plenty of side effects, serious side effects. And here you've got the reaction by system organ class. So nervous, psychiatric is massive, as you can see here, because down here it's got all the different things with its blood disorders, ear problems, eye problems, gastric problems. So this is another way you can have a look. And if you think you're having a side effect and your doctor doesn't believe you, you can just take this chart or explain to the doctor how the doctor can check, because unfortunately at medical school very few medical students are even told about the yellow cards. This is a fact, and you can see that if you go to the website of April, for example, you can, this is the charity that I founded, you can go further down, and here it's got conference videos, and if you click on that, you will come to videos by eminent professors of clinical pharmacology, and basically the explanation that medical students have very little in the way of adverse drug reaction learning in many of the medical schools. Not all of them, but many of them. It's not compulsory to take an exam on competence to prescribe. There is one now, but it's only been there for the last 4 years. So for over 20 years, there was no exam on competence to prescribe. These doctors are worth hearing. That's a coroner, that's Heather Ashton, who is an expert on benzodiazepine addiction and dependence, because a lot of people didn't know they were drugs of dependence, as the antidepressants are too, they've now found. The anaesthetist here, she talks about a painkiller that can cause psychosis, and antibiotics can, and here's Ben Goldacre, who talks about how drug trials are rigged. So if you go down here, this gentleman is a clinical pharmacologist, and he explains about medical education and how many students are not very happy about the amount of time spent on learning about adverse drug reactions. Well, I hope that's been helpful, and as I said, it's July, I don't know if I did mention this, it's July 2020, we're almost into August. We've had a lockdown due to the coronavirus, COVID-19, and as I'm quite an old lady now, I am not going anywhere, so I'm doing this from home, and I hope it's helpful. Now how do I stop this? Bye everybody, and keep safe, and please look at your nutrition. That's really important. Get out in the sunshine, get out into the garden or a park nearby if you can, even if it's in the evening when everyone's gone home. Just go for that walk. It does you the world of good. Take care. Bye.